Hello everyone, TLSG here, back again with another Marvel Snap video. It's time again for us to do another mystery card deck draft, but before we jump into that, as you can tell, the eye patch is here. This is the season finale for the eye patch, so we need to make this mystery card a good one. And then after this video, we're going to go back to the normal TLSG variant. We're going to put away the Nick Fury, the Thor, the Snake variant for now. But I really do appreciate how much all of you guys have just been so accepting and rooting for the eye patch. It's made this whole process so much easier to still continue to push out videos. So with that, let's go ahead and pull our mystery card for today. So we get Quinjet. So Quinjet is one that I've been kind of back and forth on. So Quinjet could work pretty well in a collector style deck. But figuring out a way to make it work optimally, I think, is going to be the challenge. And so Quinjet, being a pretty unique card in ongoing, cards that didn't start in your deck cost 1. So any card that you generate, so like Agent 13, any card that you steal from your opponent through like Cable or Mantis, that's going to be discounted. And then if you get the high roll of like a District X or a Weird World Quinjet, and you had Quinjet in your hand, that's where it's really going to shine. All of your cards are going to be discounted by 1. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and jump over into the deck draft, and then we'll be back. So we did throw something together. We threw together a Quinjet collector style deck. So with Quinjet, you're going to be wanting to draw cards that did not start in your deck, and kind of hand in hand with that, that additionally will buff your collector. So they seem to be a really good pair or unison combo. And so this deck is really about pulling in cards that did not start in your deck, or potentially stealing ongoing abilities, or finishing off the game with a really strong ongoing ability. So really quickly running through the cards. First we have Agent 13, who on reveal is going to add a random card to your hand. We have Mantis, another cheap card that will be able to potentially steal a card from your opponent. Then we have our Quinjet and our Collector, which we've already covered. We have Cable, who is also going to steal a card, so that's going to buff your Collector, and it's going to be discounted by Quinjet. And then we're running Falcon. So Falcon is going to allow us to pull back our 1-cost cards. I do think a Beast would be a better fit here. I haven't unlocked Beast. That way you could potentially pull back a Cable and a few other cards. I don't have Beast unlocked, so Falcon is going to be kind of the next best thing. The only downside is that it will pull back in your Quinjet, and so then you're going to have to be aware of that and then drop it the next turn if you're wanting to continue pumping out cards that didn't start in your deck. But with Falcon, every single card that it pulls back into your hand will trigger the Collector. And so then we have Sentinel. Sentinel on reveal adds another Sentinel to your hand. So with Quinjet, this is going to make any additional Sentinels that you drop cost 1 energy. So you're going to be able to push these out almost every single turn to give your Collector quite a bit of upside and just get a little bit of board presence. And then we have Rogue. So Rogue is a card that we really favored for a while, but then we shied away from whenever the patch hit and the Devil Dino meta kind of went away. But now that we are finding ourselves back into an ongoing ability type of meta, a lot of decks are running Iron Man, a lot of decks are running Mystique, Wong, Khazar, Strong Guy, Ant-Man, Morbius. There's a lot of good targets for Rogue. And then we have our Devil Dino. So with this style of deck, we're almost always going to be pushing a max hand size, and so Devil Dino is almost always going to get the upside from being on the board. And then our next 4-cost card, we have Moon Girl. So Moon Girl on reveal, duplicate your hand. So if we're able to duplicate 2 or 3 cards, those cards that were duplicated are going to be discounted by Quinjet. So if we duplicate an Agent 13 and a Mantis, the duplicate versions of those cards are going to be 0 cost. And then this also helps max out your Devil Dino, and each card that's duplicated triggers your Collector as well. And then we have White Queen. So White Queen is a card that we really enjoyed in our Steal It type deck. She has the on reveal ability of draw a copy of the highest cost card in your opponent's hand. And so of course this is going to be discounted by Quinjet, and it's going to give us some unique insight into the cards that the opponent has and what kind of potential play they might have come turn 6. And then to round out the deck list, we have Iron Man. So with this deck, we are most likely not going to struggle with getting a lot of cards onto the board, but what we're going to struggle with a little bit is getting high power cards on the board. And so besides our Collector, besides our Devil Dino, we need a way to swing or win other lanes. And I think the easiest way, the most consistent way for that is going to be Iron Man. So that is the general idea of the deck list. I'm really excited to pilot this one. I think it should be pretty fun, and I think it'll be fairly consistent as well. And so let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so we have G-War Monkey, and we have the new featured location. And so Nidavellir is going to allow cards that are there to be even more powerful. It's going to give all of them +5. So I think this is going to be a really prime target for like a Shang-Chi, because if if you drop a card that has 4 power, it's all of a sudden going to be 9, and it's going to be Shang-Chi-able. And then I think it's additionally going to be a really big target for Iron Man, because Iron Man is going to become a 5 power. He's just going to become really, really large in combination with the other cards that are there. And so the second location being X Mansion, I think we probably just lean in with the Sentinel into Nidavellir, and then we kind of wait and see and let it play out. So now if we do draw into our Quinjet, this Sentinel is going to be 1 cost instead of 2, and each of the Sentinels after that will be 1 cost as well, but we don't draw into it. So we're going to get a random card in the X Mansion. I think we go ahead and drop our Agent 13 here, and then we're going to draw into a random card. We're going to be able to kind of see what it is, and then X Mansion could either make or break us. It's always a very swing style location. I've seen all kinds of just nutty things. And so Agent 13 drew into Black Cat, which of course gets discarded at the end of the game. And then they draw into Drax, which hits our Agent 13, and then becomes an 8 power. So I do think they got the upside out of us there. And so it being turn 4, I think I'm going to drop a White Queen and see what their highest cost card is in their hand, because they haven't really played much other than a Jubilee into a Shang-Chi. So it may be like a high cost card deck, and so we may end up pulling like a Sentinel. No, it's an Onslaught. Interesting. Okay. And so then we know that we only need to beat 11 power here, so capping it out with Iron Man seems bold. Seems very bold, because then we can of course drop our own Iron Man, which would cap it out again. Actually, no, let's make it even better. So we're gonna snap here. We have a Rogue, which is gonna steal their Iron Man ability, and then we still have our own Iron Man to drop next turn. And so we are going to give up the Superflow. I don't necessarily think we need to compete there. We're gonna go ahead and drop another Sentinel here. And then next turn, we're going to be able to drop an Iron Man into Nidavellir, and it's going to be really hard for them to compete. And none of our cards are going to be over 9, so none of them are going to be over that limit where they're going to be impacted. And then, of course, we do get their Iron Man buff, and there's not any way for them to react here. They do lock down the Superflow, but that's okay. I don't feel like we necessarily needed it. And then Iron Man is going to make this lane just absolutely massive. And none of them could be targeted by a Shang-Chi, and then even if they could, their Shang-Chi is out on the board. Just a very unfortunate Professor X play. It was gave negative tempo to the board, while ours was able to steal and lock down a lane, and then all we had to do was focus our power into Nidavellir. So even though we didn't get to use our Quinjet there, still a very good showing of this deck's abilities. Alright, and so our first card in hand, we do get the high roll of Quinjet. So now if we can draw into Collector next turn, we're going to have a really good upside here. We're going to be able to get a pretty large Collector. We'll be able to pump out a lot of power and a lot of cards onto the board. And so we do draw into the Nidavellir location, which is of course the hot location. So you're gonna be seeing this location a lot for the next day or two. And then we don't have a great play line otherwise, so I think we go ahead and drop a Sentinel here. Sentinel or a 3 power card in this location I think is going to be really, really important, because if you drop any more power than that, it's going to be a prime target to get Shang-Chi'd, and then that could really easily swing the location against your favor. And so we're probably going to end up eventually dropping Devil Dinosaur into the Crimson Cosmos, him being one of the few 4+ cost cards that we have. So I think what we do here, I think we go ahead and drop our Agent 13, and we're going to drop him into the mid location, knowing that we're going to pull him back. I don't necessarily need or want him there permanently, but this is going to allow us to make sure that it doesn't get destroyed before our Falcon can trigger. And so then we do get the Quinjet and the Agent 13 back in our hand, and we also have Mantis. So where do we go from here? I kind of want to drop Quinjet back down, but we're also going to be pushed for space. So we could do Quinjet, we could do Sentinel here. We can also drop a Do we drop our Mantis and anticipate that they're going to drop a card, or do we go with a guaranteed card? I think we go with the guaranteed card here. We're not necessarily trying to mill their deck. We're just trying to get additional cards that we'll be able to utilize fairly easily. Okay, and so now we do have Iron Man, so that's going to be a big card for swinging Nidavellir, if depending on what they drop here. And so I think what we end up doing, I think we go with a Devil Dino here, and we can go ahead and go with another Sentinel here. There's no danger of Sentinel being destroyed, because if he gets destroyed, we still have another copy in our hand, and so it's not necessarily a big issue. And then in Nidavellir, what do they drop here? I kind of hope they drop an early like Devil Dino, or no, it's a Wolfsbane. Okay. So if they do decide to go with an Iron Man, that makes it pretty tough on us. But if they do go with an Iron Man, they're not going to be able to push any power here, because that would take up 5 of their energy. They only have 1 additional energy left. And so do we, but we can drop it here. And I think it gives us a pretty good shot at winning here. None of our cards are going to be able to be hit with Shang-Chi except for this one. And then if they go with a Shang-Chi here, it's going to make it difficult for them to win this one. Maybe they can swing Danger Room, but I think it's a coin flip. I think we have decent chance, and they only drop 1 card. And what is that 1 card? Is it Iron Man? Because if so, then we win both the left and right, and we're okay. So it's an Odin, which is going to re-trigger all of their abilities, but all of their their Ironheart could swing the game for them here. It only hits 1 though, so they get the low roll, unfortunately, and we still win the mid location. So that is an insane power level for for not having an Iron Man or a way to duplicate it. 53, just a natural 53, is just insane. So nonetheless, very, very close. But this deck list feels pretty good so far. We are 3-0. All right, and so we do have our collector in hand this game. So I'm going to not drop Agent 13 for the first turn, and then next turn I'm going to drop our collector so that we can start buffing him up. He's going to get pretty big over the courses of the game, and so I think I'm going to drop him into Shadowland, knowing that that's a non-negative location. And then if we draw into Falcon, we can actually pull back in the -2 Ninja for a little bit of even more upside. So they do have Sentinel, so they're going to be running some of those. They may be running a version of Collector themselves. And then we do draw into Falcon here, so we're going to be able to drop our Agent 13 twice. So I think we go ahead and just drop him here. And then I'm going to go ahead and drop our Falcon in this far right lane. That way it's going to trigger our collector 2 times with the Ninja and Agent 13, and then Agent 13 is going to trigger it once with pulling the random card into our hand. And then if we can draw into Quinjet, we'll get some pretty good upside out of the cards we have left in our hand, being Sentinel and White Queen. And so they drop another Sentinel, which only that first version is going to keep that +2 power. The remaining ones are going to be back to 3 power. And so we do start buffing up our collector, and he's going to get pretty large pretty quickly with this style of deck. And so after turn 3, so just a turn too late. So I think we do we do our White Queen here to get an idea of what their highest cost card is? Or do we just kind of keep pushing out power where we can in like an Agent 13? We can drop a Sentinel, which is going to trigger our collector again. And then next turn, we can always drop our Devil Dino, or we can save it for the last turn to kind of make it a surprise with a Sentinel as well. And we accidentally do cap out our hand size here. It would be really, really beneficial for us to draw into Rogue, which of course I made it so that we can't draw. So do we hold Devil Dino for now? I think we do something like this maybe. So this is going to allow us to buff up our collector once more We're going to be able to drop a Devil Dino here to compete with theirs and keep a pretty full hand size. So I don't think they're going to be able to compete here. Unless they have a Shang-Chi, which would then target our collector. I'm not sure what they're running other than a potential collector deck. And so then our Green Goblin, which we got from Agent 13, does trigger and go across the board. So we're actually tied in this location. And so then we're going to draw into our last card. And so if it's a Devil Dino or if it's a Rogue, it's pretty good upside. Do we ever drop Rogue here, which then steals their ability? We can drop our Sentinel, which will add a card back into our hand again. And then if they drop, like, let's say an Iron Man here to try to push their lead, they have initiation, so we either pull an Iron Man or we pull the Devil Dino. Either one would be good or beneficial for us to grab. So I think that's safer than doing just the Devil Dino. Because if we did just the Devil Dino and they dropped an Iron Man, then it's their 2 ongoing abilities versus our 1, and we wouldn't be able to compete at that point. So I think we have a really solid chance here. We're, of course, giving up in Murder World, and I think they know that. So I anticipate a couple of cards here and here, and they do have the Shang-Chi, unfortunately. They get the upside out of the Shang-Chi play. We are going to be able to tie or push in this location, though, because of the Sentinel coming in. And so then it comes down to the coin flip of which one do we win by more. And so, of course, that is going to be Wakanda Embassy. We win that one by 20. They win their Murder World by 10. So even with their Shang-Chi, we got very, very fortunate that one, we pulled up that negative ninja, which did hurt them in this case. And then 2, that we got the Wakanda Embassy buff on one of our Sentinels, which gave us just enough upside or just enough power to swing this location and keep it in our favor. And to start this next game, we don't have any of our cheaper resources, but we do have a collector, so that's going to allow us to at least know that we're going to have one really large unit that we can put onto the board. And we do want to make sure we win Baxter Building, but I think what I'm going to do is drop collector over here in this unknown location. We're going to have Devil Dino, which will be able to be triggered pretty easily into Baxter Building. So I don't think we need to necessarily push our collector there as well. That way we can kind of spread out that power dispersion and make sure that we are competitive in multiple lanes. And so we do get the upside of Nidavellir here, which is both good and bad. We're going to get our collector up over what can be hit with a Shang-Chi, which feels a little bad, but I think overall it will be okay. And so we are going to drop our Quinjet in mid. We're going to drop our Sentinel on this left-hand side, and then any of our following Sentinels are going to be only 1 cost, and so we're going to be able to easily push those out each turn. And they drop an Atom Warrior, and they're hoping for the high roll with the expansion that puts them in the lead. So let's see if that risk pays off. Oh no, Baxter Building actually. Baxter Building gives them the lead here, at least for now. But, oh wow. Wow. What a high roll. We are going to snap off of that and probably end the game because we put Quinjet in this location. Expansion gave us an Onslaught. It gave us a 6 power Onslaught and them a 0 power Yellow Jacket. And it's especially noteworthy because Onslaught is doubling our ongoing abilities, which our ongoing ability is cards that didn't start in your deck cost 1 less. And so each card that didn't start in our deck now costs 2 less. And so Sentinels are free. So we are going to, off of that, drop our Cable here. And then we're going to pull a card in that's going to be deeply, deeply discounted. And actually, do we do that or do we drop our Devil Dino here? Or maybe we even Moon Girl here. Do we Moon Girl? We'll be able to drop 2 free Sentinels each turn, buffing up our collector. I think we Moon Girl here. And so that's going to give us 2 Devil Dinos, so we can drop 1 each of the following turns. Whenever we drop 1 here, it's just going to be absolutely nuts because we're going to have almost a capped out lane and a double Devil Dino. So it's going to be something like 28 power, between 22 and 28 power. And so then we do have all of these cards that are discounted because of Moon Girl's ability, or because of Quinjet and Moon Girl. And so they do cap out this location. So we know we only need to beat 27 here, which is doable. If we drop a Devil Dino, that's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, which would put us at 19. And then we just have to drop, one more there. Or we can shy away from that, and we don't have to drop our resources there. We can do something like a cable here, or do we do 2 cables and give them only 1 card left over? And we're going to be able to drop 2 Devil Dinos for the final turn. And so I think we keep that as kind of a surprise. I think we do something like this. We're going to get 2 cards with cable, which is going to buff up our collector. And then we're going to be able to drop a Devil Dino here and a Devil Dino here. Unless we draw something better that would swing us this location somehow, like a Shang-Chi. But I think that is what we go with, at least now. And so if they have a Shang-Chi, it's going to feel really bad in this massive lane we have going on of the collector. Especially considering that we have priority. So we're going to turn first. Ooh, and so we do pull into a Shang-Chi off of their cable. And so that is from their deck. And so we know that they are not going to be able to Shang-Chi our cards. So it's very important information to have. With Captain Marvel, if we were to Shang-Chi this location, it's only going to take away 12. So it's not going to be enough to swing this lane. So I think we just go without it. I think we go with our original plan of dropping a Devil Dino here and here. So unless they just do a rogue, just a blind rogue, then I think we're okay. We know that they're not going to be able to destroy our giant collector here. These are going to be both massively powered lanes. I think we have a very, very good shot at winning this one. Since it's already turn 6, I'm not going to snap. Otherwise, I would. I would let it play all the way out. So we drop our Devil Dino, who is going to be 20 power by himself. And they pull a Doc Ock, which is pretty strong by himself, but not going to be enough in combination with the Devil Dino Onslaught. So just an absolutely massive power swing from that X-Mention drop. And so then we got lucky with the Shang-Chi draw. Had we just dropped 1 cable, we would have gotten their Sarah, but not their Shang-Chi. And so overall, this deck list is feeling really, really good. Right now, we are actually 5-0 with it, and they're all pretty high cube games. They've all been getting to the point where they're at end game. So we are climbing fairly well with this one so far. So next up we have Davy Masta, which he's always a pretty decent opponent. He's always pretty competitive. So I think we drop our Quinjet here. That's going to let us discount any card that we draw. So Cable is going to be our next big push, unless we draw into a Collector. A Collector is going to be pretty good if we can draw into it, in that we can drop it into Kiln, and then it's going to grow over time, and it's going to give us a really big advantage or push for that mid location. As it is right now, we're just going to drop our Cable, which is going to pull one of their cards. We can kind of see what they're playing, so we get a Blade. So they're running a discard deck. So that's important to know. And then we're going to be able to hold Blade until the very end, actually. And then we'll be able to drop it. And so I think what we do here, I think this is going to be the play. I think we snap, and this may cause him to back out, but I think we snap here. I think we steal his Morbius's ongoing ability, even though we are not running a discard deck. That's going to stop him from being able to buff up his Cable over the course of multiple turns. And so let's go ahead and do that. We're going to steal the Morbius ability. Our Rogue is pretty much just going to be a 1 power card, but their Morbius is going to be a 0 power card for the remainder of the game. And I think we do cap this lane out. So him knowing that his Morbius has been compromised, he may drop some resources here on this last turn that we can play into Kiln. So I'm actually going to drop our White Queen as a way to, 1, see what their highest cost card is in their hand, and then 2, help make sure that we finish capping this location out. And then any overflow of resources that we drop, we can always move into New York on turn 6, and then just keep whatever we need here. And so their highest cost card was a Moon Knight, so which is now discarded. And then they had the Lady Sif. So interesting. What do we think about doing something like, do we do a collector here? I don't think we get our collector large enough to make an impact, but I also know that we're not going to want to move resources out of kiln because the collector is going to continue to grow larger, and maybe we should have waited one additional turn before dropping our rogue so he didn't have a turn to kind of react to it. But as far as this turn, what do we do? I think we go with a mantis, do we do a mantis and a blade? That's going to allow us, or a mantis and a moon girl, that's going to allow us to duplicate 2 cards, and we're not able to do all 3, so the collector and moon girl. I think maybe we do that. It's gonna make it where we can't draw next turn, but I don't know that we necessarily need to. And we steal their Wong, so we know if they're running like a gambit combo, they're not gonna be able to trigger it here. And so, interestingly enough, we could drop something like a Wong Moon Knight Blade, which would let us buff up our rogue. So maybe we do that. Let's think this through. If we move our cable, or our rogue, our moon girl, and our mantis over, that's going to leave us with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if they get 2 cards, then I don't think that's a good idea. And so maybe we just go with something like an Iron Man Blade, and we move out our... Maybe we move out our Quinjet and our cable here, because then we're going to be able to discard 1, 2, 3 cards. So it's going to become 6 power, and so we're going to be 12 here. I'm not sure. It depends. If he has a moon girl, then we would have wanted to keep one of our cards there, but we took too long deciding. So they have a swarm, they have a gambit, which is going to destroy one of our cards. Hopefully it's not a priority target here. And so it's not. And we do have the Iron Man, which is going to let us really lean into this location. Just hopefully it is enough to win there. And they discarded so many cards that we're not going to win this location. But ideally we can win this one because of the double Iron Man effect. And then we're going to be able to win this far left lane because of our cheap discounted Quinjet cards. Then we're going to be able to buff up our rogue a little bit. But of course they buff theirs up as well with Moon Knight. I didn't think about that being a factor. So it is a good thing that we didn't need to lean in and complete this one, and that we didn't have a lot of high priority targets for Gambit to hit. So if we had Iron Man out early, it could have potentially hit that one and stolen the lane from us. But overall, a very, it feels like this deck is going to be extremely competitive. That is 6-0. We actually climbed, I think, 2 ranks in those 6 games because they have all been all the way to the end, 4 cube or more games. I think this could be the deck we climb to infinite with. This deck felt so very solid and very strong. So I am going to end the video here, guys. This is the end of the eye patch era, the eye patch season for now. It will make a return at some point, I promise. But I hope you guys liked the video. This deck list feels so very strong, and there may be some tweaks you can make to make it a little more optimal. Like Moon Girl, you can't use as often, but when you do, its impact with Quinjet is just phenomenal. And so I think it definitely has a place in the deck. And I think it's okay that we don't have something bigger than a 5-cost Iron Man because we're going to be stealing resources. We're going to have so many high-powered cards in a Double Dino and Iron Man, and then a collector that can continue to buff over time, a stolen ongoing ability from Rogue. Just overall, the deck list feels incredibly solid, very fun to play. So if you have these cards unlocked, definitely give it a shot. But with that, we are ending the eye patch era, and so now it's going to be just the regular TLSG variant moving forward. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you again for all of your continued support, coming back day after day to check out these videos, to watch the content, and just enjoy this community that we're creating together. So with that being said, I'm going to end the video here. This has been TLSG. Later, guys.